did you ever wonder how Willy Wonka came up with the idea for his amazing chocolate factory? Well, he didn't come up with it on his own. As a matter of fact, before he ever went and made his chocolate factory so secret, he went and found out about the most amazing factory that there ever is, the human cell. It's the smallest and most wondrous factory of all. Now, are you all ready to go on your tour? Do you have your golden tickets? All right, and just like any other factory, we need to make sure we have our safety gear on, so we've got our hard hats and our safety goggles. Now, for this particular one, because the factory is so small, we're going to have to shrink down, and that's a very secret process. So even though we're taping for the archives, we'll have to cut here while we shrink.
'Cause I got a golden ticket. I got a golden twinkle in my eye.
Okay, and here we are with our factory. Now it's going to be much too confusing if we have everything that's going on in the factory for you guys to be able to see what's happening. So we've kind of scooted a few people out, and we've just made it nice and simple. Now here in the middle of our factory, not always in the middle, but in the middle of where we have it, with all the little tiny holes, is the most super secret part. It holds all the plans and all the blueprints of the cell, and it's called the nucleus. And we open it up and we take a look inside, and what we've got here is just one of the blueprints, because there's no way that we could let you possibly see all the blueprints. And this is called DNA. And as you can see from the DNA, it comes in 4 different parts. And each part is very particular about which other part it goes with. So the one here, the white one, that's the A. It only ever goes with the T. And the blue one is G, and it only ever goes with the C. And so they all match up and they stay nice and close together so that the secrets don't get out. But you have to ask yourself, how are we going to get the plans from inside the super secret cell vault all the way out to the floor where it needs to go? So what they do is they send for the secretary to come and take a small little bit of information. And she comes along and she transcribes, just like any other secretary would come along and take a message from her boss. She comes along and she transcribes a message, just a tiny little piece of the blueprint. And shorthand, as we know, is a slightly different language, and the same thing happens when the secretary mRNA transcribes the message from the blueprint. It just kind of scoots apart a little bit. I know I'm being a little bit different, but it really kind of stays pretty close, because they stay really close to each other. But just to show you. And she copies, and she does the whole thing all the way down for the piece, that the protein that they're going to make. So that's what our cells make, is protein. And she does that, and then everything goes back together so that they're all right close where they should be. And then we cover that back up again to keep it nice and secret. And then the secretary goes out, the mRNA, and she takes her message along with her, and she goes over to the floor plan, or the factory's floor, where they take the plans and they make what they're going to make. They make the proteins. And she brings her message in. And at the beginning of every message that we have, we see we've got dates and address information, stuff that's not really necessary for making the protein. So the same thing happens with the cell. So how does the cell know as it starts to read, or the ribosome? Normally it would open up and then close right over top like that and just do everything inside, but we're going to leave it open so we can see. So it's reading along, and how does it know when to start manufacturing? Well, it looks for a very special code, and the code here that we're looking for is AUG. AUG, then we know that it's supposed to start working. And there it is. There's our A, white for A, red for U, and blue for G. Now it knows to start translating the message to make the protein. Now how does it get the bits and pieces that it needs? It's starting to translate, but what does it do? Well, if you remember in Willy Wonka, he had his dedicated workers of Oompa Loompas. Well, the cell has a dedicated workers as well. They're called tRNAs. Now, the tRNAs are just like the Oompa Loompas. They're very hard workers, and they're always going and always looking for a place that they can work. But they only will carry one amino acid, which is what the cell needs to carry, because they're particular too. You don't want to tick off an Oompa Loompa. So they will only carry one kind of amino acid. But again, here we find the same sort of thing. Be very particular about who they match up with. So if we've got an AUG here, then the only Oompa Loompa that's going to come and talk with it is the one that matches up to its opposite. So we're going to need to find the Oompa Loompa that is a GUC. So let's see if we can find the Oompa Loompa that is a GUC. My apologies. A UAC. A UAC. And it's looking for an A. There we go. So it comes in, and it's carrying its amino acid. And it comes in and it says, hello, and drops it off. And then it goes back out again, and because they're so hardworking, it picks another one up right away. Well then, this 3-part has been translated, so then it goes along, and it looks at the next 3. So now we're looking for a GUA. We need the one that's going to match up with it, so we need a CAU. Which one is CAU? Here we are. So in it comes the TR.